All right. Welcome back to On the Money Podcast. It's your boy, Chris Fish. I got my man, Bethel Johnson with me, and my other partner, got Chris Harris with me. We got a special guest in the building. Bethel, you brought this guest to us.
I did.
Go ahead and introduce our special guest that we got here today. Who you brought with us?
My boy, Charles Keeley, man. He's a financial professional. And it's perfect for the conversation we're having today. Charles and I, man, God, we met about 5-6 years ago.
Yes.
At a golf tournament.
Yes.
And he was working for one company, I was working for another.
Were you actually playing golf or
No, I was participating. I was the same thing I was doing before. That's what I was doing. I was participating in golf.
Swinging the club.
Yeah, that's it. Just out there killing, grass, all kinds of stuff. And so, then we got to having a conversation about finances and things like that. And at that point, he started trying to recruit me. I started trying to recruit him. And it just came to the point where we were like, listen, we're going to eventually work with each other one day.
Right.
And so when he left and went to another company, and he called me when he got there, it's like, hey, man, you got to come. And it's a good opportunity. And then my mentor had passed away. Mm-hmm. And so that's what led me to go ahead and
switch on over. Yeah.
Now, well, my mentor passed away, and I was already gone.
Yes.
I had already left and came over there. I kind of mixed those two together. But I had already gotten over there, and I was just like, yeah, because I wanted to learn what they were doing that made them so great anyway.
Mm-hmm. Right. So for those that are listening today and watching, today's topic that we're going to get into is the rules of money. We're going to get into the rules of money. And before we start getting too deep into the rules, just a question that I throw out to any of you all, just how were you first exposed to money growing up? Like what were some things from an exposure level? What were your thoughts going into it? And then the big part of the question is, once you got into the profession that you're in now, what shifted and changed? Okay, and so that's what I want to throw to Charles. I'm gonna throw it at you real quick first. Allow the guests to kind of get up in there a little bit quick and first. But for you, how were you introduced to money, and what changed once you got into the field?
So I don't remember like my parents ever telling me like, hey, this is what $1 is. This is what a penny or anything like that is. I remember one day going in the store with my uncle, and I saw some Skittles on the shelf. So I looked at them. I was like, man, I can get these Skittles. And I looked at the price. And then I started looking at the ounces and stuff like that. So I started breaking it down like it costs this much and I get this much per ounce. And my uncle's like, this dude's smart, man. He understand, the value of, what he's paying for. And so that's one story I can think of like that I got exposed to money. But it wasn't like someone saying, hey, this is what your money's worth. This is what you can get with your money. Go from there. So, but like I think like all of us, none of us were really taught like, hey, this is what money is. This is how you gain your money. None of that stuff. So I don't really remember a moment where I was actually taught, hey, this is what money is. Sad.
Harris, what about you, man? Where when you were coming up, what was your exposure level to money?
Ooh, exposure level? That's a whole nother conversation. But similar to you, man, it probably was like going to the candy lady, right? Your mom give you $1 and it's you and your cousins. How y'all go? You get to the candy lady, she's like, all right, baby, we have this. And you say, hey, man, I only got $1. Like, how we gonna figure this out? Okay, if you get that, you give me half of that, I'll get this, and you get half. So that was my first, as a child. Professionally, out of college, I went right into financing, right? More on the servicing side. Then I've been in banking for about 27, 28 years, going from each department and learning, making all the way to a C-level executive, and realizing that what I thought was money is not even money, right? Having that paradigm shift, like, wow, I made it my adult life and thought, an arbitrary number was it. And then getting on the back end, you say, that's one transaction? What I thought was it is one transaction, right? So just saying, hey, it's too much out there and I need to learn. So it's kind of, my experience.
Yeah, for me, my exposure level was not very high. Matter of fact, it was one of those things where you kind of keep out of grown folks' business, right? The one thing that my exposure was whether or not I could see whether or not we were doing okay, and then there was also obviously some notable times when we weren't doing okay, right? And so some of those notable times are when the sound of when your electricity is being turned off, right? Yeah, that's the sound, right? You know the sound.
What? Well, that's the next word. It's going. Well,
time to go find them candles,
Yeah.
right? So the exposure level wasn't too high, but as I grew older, I became just more aware of the fact that it's hard to expose me to something that you really don't know much about yet. yourself, right. And so I think that was more part of the problem in itself, that it wasn't that it was just a conscious, I'm trying to hold back information from you. You can't give anything that you don't have. Right. And so that's the biggest thing that I seen. And then from a professional standpoint, I have family members that are now in the finance game, and so I got exposed to them as far as working in finance. But then I started to realize that they were only working in one side of it, and I was like, man, there's so many different sides to money, so they have their strategies that are over there, and so I had a whet appetite to learn more than just their way of doing it, which is not a bad way at all. It was just a fact of, there's more to it than just this one strategy that's over here, right? So my exposure didn't come until after I graduated. It was after I graduated high school. When I got to college, like that was my first reality of just having to deal with money, because at that point, I'm on my own, and having to manage things and all that kind of stuff. Now, Bethel, you lived in a different type of bubble, you gifted athlete folks,
That don't mean you was exposed to money. You kidding me? I come from the projects of Stop Six. That was different. So for me, my exposure to money honestly didn't happen. Because when you're growing up in those environments, you really think that's normal.
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah. So for me, growing up in the environment that I was growing up in, it was just normal for everybody to kind of be in the same boat. Situation, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't until I moved to Corsicana, and I started playing baseball, and my guardian, who is a financial advisor, and he basically work with everybody money in town, right? So I knew he had money, right? I knew that. And instead of like handing me money, he exposed me to stuff, right? And it made me think of, I need to get here in order to get that, right? So he would take us as a baseball team, he would expose us to different like restaurants and things like that. And in my mind, the whole time he was doing this stuff, to me it was registering like, okay, I want to do this on my own.
You want to be able to do that.
Right. I want to be able to do this on my own. I don't want to have to depend on him to always expose me to these things. And so I remember when I got drafted, right? That was my real experience, first time experience with money. Because now I come into a huge sum of money overnight that I didn't have the day before.
Right.
And I have no experience and no one else around me with that experience. And so long story short, he became my financial advisor. And like I said before in a couple episodes prior, I told him, I said, listen, I don't know much about your game. But what I do know is I don't want to go back to broke. Right. So take this and make this last me the rest of my life. That was the conversation we had. Right. But I was inquisitive about the moves he was making with my money.
Right.
So when it came to putting it in certain investments, or whatever, I had questions about those things. And that kind of just gave me...
You were seeking for understanding.
I was seeking for understanding because I'm like, dude, I told you, this got to let me rest my life. I can't take no dips.
Right.
I need my stuff to be always going up, brother. I don't want to hear nothing about, the market. I don't want to hear none of that.
Right.
Like, to me, that was inexcusable because I didn't understand the game. I just knew that my money should be growing based on what you do for a living.
Right.
Now, Charles, you went to one of the best business schools
He was an
out-
engineer. Now.
The Florida A&M University. Keep going.
Florida A&M University, right? So
The
when you got
redhead
to
step cousin of Texas A&M
no,
University.
ain't no
Thank
step or nothing.
No relation.
No relation, no step, no nothing. We are excellence with care, and we always are at an excellence
Here
level,
they go.
right? So you gonna get me started.
Now
Don't
we
let me
got
get started.
two on the show.
Don't do it.
Never
Don't
hit
do
the
it.
end
But so when you got to school for you, what was there any different levels of exposure at that time that started to make that shift for you, or what was it like for you before getting into your career field?
So there wasn't really anything, at FAMU. I didn't, like you said, the business school. I probably should have spent more time in the business school learning about finances and things of that sort, but I didn't. I got my degree in electrical engineering at the College of Engineering, FSU, FAMU College of Engineering, FAMU, FSU College of
There
Engineering.
we go.
But I didn't really get that experience with money then, but I'll tell you an interesting story why I got into finance once I got out. Once I graduated, I didn't have any loans or anything like coming through school. And I came out here to Texas and I interviewed, and I actually thought I was going to end up in Orlando at Lockheed Martin in Orlando. Be like, yeah, you got to come to Texas and interview. And when I came back, they sent me a letter saying that this is how much money you're going to make. I was like, gosh, I just came from nothing. I'm on the meal plan, and now I got these guys. No, I'm taking that job, so I took it. But the thing I wish I had known, I wish I had gotten at FAMU, or what to do with that money when you get it. Because I got out here, I had this old car. I mean, it was a cash car. It was paid for. I came out here. I went to a car lot. It was a Nissan Altima, 2002. The guy was like, yeah, it's going to be $25,000. I was like, boom, I got it. I could pay it. I know nothing about negotiating, the price down.
Right.
Those are things that you need, how to, negotiate. I got the car, it was like $530 some dollars a month. I was like, that ain't nothing, man. I got plenty of money now. I could pay for that. But those are just things that, how to negotiate a car, how to, when you're going to get a house, don't just take the price that they give you.
Right.
Push back,
Right.
But those are things that, but I didn't get that experience. I didn't get that knowledge.
Right. Right. Harris, what about you, man? Did things shifted for you once you got into your career field? Like what was like an aha moment for you? Because you're coming from having a banking C-level experience, coming from your area of Oak Cliff, that's your hood, right? To now working for one of the largest banks, in the States. I mean, there had to been some kind of shift that was just like, whoa.
I mean, it was a shift, but the thing about it, even though I was working for them, I was working for me. So I went in there, from the bottom and worked my way up. But the whole time I was like, look, I'm going to get enough where I can do my own thing. I don't know what it is, but I just know me being an employee was not going to be it. Like, even though I was moving up because, I'm prideful, I want to be the best. I have responsibilities and obligations. And in order to do the things that I want to do, I got to make a little more money. It's going to require a little more. But I realized, man, I may have had a little money, but I was time. I had zero time, and it was affecting my household. And I told a story before. I was in my office and I was distributing bonus checks, and I realized that bonus check was about 27% of my salary, and I'm like, it's no way that I'm never off. Cell phone by the bed, flying all over, missing events in my house, and the thing about banking is once you make it to an executive level, you're privy to reports, right?
Right.
And I'm not. It's two type of reports in banking, right? The reports you may see, that are common knowledge, and there are the executive level reports that might not cast the same picture that So I was privy to, and I'm looking at, I'm going line by line, right?
Right.
Once again, I already told you what I thought was money. I saw that on one line. I'm like, wow, I'm trying to make that in my entire life, and that's on here on one line. And what's so cool about it? That was someone's quarterly bonus.
Golly.
So honestly, I got upset. I'm like, man, I'm hustling backwards. I'm busting my ass. I'm here all the time. I'm making them money, as Stephen A. Smith. Like I'm 100% excelling, right? I'm winning these awards, right? I saved the company $3 million 1 year. Thinking outside the box. yeah, they rewarded me with a crumb, which was, oh, you know what? We think you have what it takes to be a C-level executive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I look around the room, I see a lot of different hues, but I don't really see mine. So I'm like, okay, representation is important. I realized though, if they can pay me this amount, how much money do they really have? And once again, on the reports, right? It was an other. So I went to the office. I said, what's this other? It's ancillary. That's for travel. I said, the travel is $7 million? I said, is that company wide? No. I said, is it regional? No, that's the office. And prior to that, I hadn't negotiated a bonus. Well, the thing in banking is the finish line was continually getting moved.
Mm-hmm.
I get close to that finish line, pat me on the back, but I don't get quite over it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, let me give you a crumb, you know, just to keep you happy. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? This is not going to work. I had to figure something out. And I made a decision because I realized the amount of money that I was seeing, you know, I'm not talking about like fantasizing, like I actually saw reports.
Mm-hmm.
I could go into the system and see what was going in and out, you know, and I realized I am just a speck on the wall in this building, but I'm giving them my all, and clearly they're not giving me their all, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the money that was coming in the building, the money that was being held from me, you know, as a carrot, right? Just keep working hard, you know. Christopher, can you go here? Can you train this person? I train that person. I look up, they have a whole division. I trained them. Like, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is that salary for that division? Oh no, I gotta do something different.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I made a decision right there. And to be honest, I didn't ask. I didn't consult with anybody. I figured out, you know what? I don't want to live my life with what ifs.
Right.
So I'm gonna take what I have and I'm gonna invest in me. And you know, through that, being an entrepreneur, I already had kind of some things out there. I got into, you know, medical sales, and I got into real estate, and I got into some other things. And what I realized with my background is it allowed me a seat at the table. It kind of quantified when I said I can do it. Well, he has this education, he has experience. Let me give him a chance. And, you know, once again, I'm just an example of the people that I'm with. I don't want to take any credit for any success I've had. I've been around some good people, been tied to some bad people. So I've learned enough coming up and going down that I know that the only way I'll ever get to where I'm trying to go is I make sure I tie myself to the right people, and I learn. I'm willing to be molded, even at this age and at this level in life. You can always learn and grow and get better.
Mm-hmm. Always.
Now, with y'all two, well, this could be this is definitely applicable for all three of y'all. What was the training like going into working for these different financial institutions that y'all were into?
It was like going back to college.
They vary though. They
Right,
vary. The
right.
training
So,
varies.
from a training aspect, what were some of the high level things regarding money? Were they teaching you, just in general? What were some of the things that they were teaching y'all when you got up in there?
Well, I know in portfolio building, before I got to where he is, we talked about wealth eroding factors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like 9 of them, and that was something that I was like, oh, I never thought about, you know, planned obsolescence.
Yeah.
You know, your devices are planned to go out.
Right.
That's what they're planned for. I understood that there was taxes. Then I didn't account for inflation. I didn't account for all these other factors, you know what I'm saying, that will drain
Processing
capital
fees
from you,
all that,
right?
yeah.
So like I didn't know that at the time. So when the training and doing that training, it was crazy, because in the training that I was going through at the firm I was with, it was some guys who just graduated.
Mm-hmm.
They just got their masters and, you know, finance and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And right then and there, we were sitting there in the class, and one of the dudes was like, "Man, I learned nothing. I went to school and I learned nothing," because now you're in the real world application of things, right? So I think the training varies. Because when I got to the company you work for, when I got there, it was a different type of training, because now I'm in a different area as it relates to money, because money is multifaceted. So we was in a different area as it relates to money.
What about for you? What
I agree with Beth. It varies by what your division you're in, what career path you're going in. You got to take those different licenses, like the 7, the 66, the 63 is all different licenses you got to take. So the training, it's not just like this one cookie cutter, like this is what you got to do. This will prepare you for everything. It just depends on what you're doing, where you're trying to go.
So
to tap into that, what I realized too, we have all those, the sevens. He's fully licensed.
So
he got
you're
more
getting to where
licenses.
my
He got
point is. Go
certifications.
ahead.
And even in that, it's the noise of the pep rally, right? So we're gonna send you over here with all this information. We're gonna send you over here. That's what we want to direct you, right? So I was sitting back the other day. I think I might have told you. I said, man, I sat there and took the you was there when I took the 7 and I was going through all this stress, all this, stressing out, all this other stuff. I was on vacation, studying for the test, everything. And then you come to find out, that's where they want us to be. That's what they want us to play. Because where I am now when it comes to commerce is a completely different world. And you can't even there's no books and no training on that.
Ain't no Google.
Ain't no Googling this. Ain't no training on this. There's nothing that they can. It's because it's outside of that.
Right.
So then it's the whole game of commerce.
Thank you for getting
Not parts of
into
commerce.
my point right there, because the reason why I was asking y'all those questions is because imagine that you went into finance into a specific field, right? And all three of y'all have different experiences. But if you decide to sit in one space of training of finance, that could be, quote unquote, what some people would be their world of what money looks like.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so part of the problem that I see going on, especially, what we face with doing certain deals, is sometimes even when you're in finance for a certain amount of time frame, the people that you listen to in finance, you want to get an understanding on how broad and how deep their knowledge is.
They're an expert on that page, not the book.
Right. Because y'all each just talked about training.
Right.
And so you're trained on a specific part because I need you to move this widget and do this particular job. So all I don't believe that one person has 100% of the expertise when it comes to all things of money.
To me, it's impossible. Based on just even taking the Series 7, all that information
regulations alone.
All the information you have to learn for like this it's
classroom learning.
Yeah,
we're not talking about no.
All the stuff you got to learn about that because it's a general license where you can tap into any area of finance.
Right.
But in our world, it's off limits, right? Because if you tap into the world that I'm in, you got to get a license up for it, right? Why is that? Because that information that you learn for the 7, 66, 63, 65,
it's arbitrary.
It has nothing to do with where the game is actually being played. That's why they say, well, you can't have that license there. Yes, because that license is going to structure us into specific boxes, and we got to stay there. But when you want to know the game, it's outside of that stuff, right? That's the pep rally noise I talk about when it comes to
Charles, what's it like for you trying to move around inside of the organization and getting exposed to different sides of the game?
They have this unwritten rule: you have to be there in your position for a year before you can transition to something. It's probably the same thing in
bullshit. It is. It is for some.
And why?
Because for us, for indigenous people, go ahead. Go ahead.
It could be different for us, but you have to be there for a year. You have to learn your position. Be a good worker, build your connections and stuff like that. But it's tough. It's tough, and that's something I had to learn because I think I'm a super intelligent guy. I think I work really, really hard, but that doesn't mean anything when you go on in an interview and you got 20 other people that are interviewing for that same position, and you may do it well in that interview. What they're going to tell you. You were great. There's nothing more you could have done in this interview, but we're going to take somebody that was already on our team. We're just going to promote them.
That happened to me.
I'm gonna tell you
at the same company.
I'll try to get.
That happened to me at the same company. He know that happened to me.
I'm gonna tell you what's so cool about this subject is I can remember thinking I knew it, and knowing I'm qualified, knowing I was an expert on the subject matter, and an opportunity came up within the company. And shout out to my wife. She said something that hurt my heart and my feelings. She was like, "You're not gonna get there. You know what? You don't know how to. You don't want to play the game." And I'm like, I bust my tail. I know what I'm talking about. I don't have to play the game. I 100% had to play the game if I wanted to operate within their business.
That is true.
I 100% had to play the game to the point where the VP that interviewed me said, "Man, I'm extremely impressed with, the applicable information that you have. You could do this, you could probably train me. But
Here's the but.
but the culture of that department in that building might not allow you to do it. And I got the subtle cues, and as he closed the interview, he said, Chris, I want to tell you, you got to figure out, man, if you want to move up, you got to figure out how to play the game. Right. Mm-hmm. And I went in my car, man. I just sit there for like 15 minutes, like contemplating driving off, because I felt like I did what I was supposed to do, so I should get what I worked hard for. And that was a paradigm shift in life and in business. You know what? If I want to be a hamster, that may work, but because I'm a disruptor, I recognize within myself, I don't want to compromise who I am or my vision or my thoughts, or I don't even want to conform to maybe the culture if it's going to be outside of where I think I need to go in life.
I was going to piggyback on something he's saying. You can be the smartest person in the room. You don't know the right person.
Oh, come on, man.
You're not going to move around.
Right. You're not
going to move around. You can go in there and ace the interview. You didn't know the right person to move to where you're trying to go. So I agree with you 100%.
And once you make it to a certain level, these positions are not coming up like every day on Indeed or anything. Oh, yeah. These are senior individuals that know the people, that have relationships in and outside the building. You have to know someone to even get an opportunity to be at the table, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So when you get to the table, if you don't know the code, then it doesn't matter if you're at the table.
Right. See, right. And I'm more of the mind of when I know the game I'm playing, I understand the rules, right? Now I can navigate that game. I don't have to play exactly by it because that's how I'm contrarian. That I don't like to go with the crowd. I go against the grain on a lot of stuff. And so even where we were, it's like you got to do this, got to do that. I was like, I'm gonna learn. I understand. I know the game.
That's just disruptive.
I understood the rules of the game. So me understanding the rules of the game, I knew which rules to follow.
You come up with your own play,
right? To get around, to get to where I was trying to go.
Right.
I knew like, okay, I got to do this. I'm gonna skip these rules right here, but I'm gonna do this one. That's gonna allow me to get here. Prime example. I had failed the test and failed up. Probably the first black man.
Don't bring that up, man.
Probably the first black man in history to fail up. Right. I failed up and got a promotion. Right.
Right.
I did.
Man,
I got a promotion.
We was on the same team.
He said, "Man, how he?"
But I was happy for him because
how he failed this test and move up, right?
Because what's for you is for you.
You're right.
Wow,
and so, but this is what happened though. I got to the other part of it, dominated over there, and then when he moved, I was like, and he was like, "Man, come on over here."
Right.
I said, "Well, I'm gonna come over there." Listen, thing he's talking about, I aced the interview, aced it.
Right.
Loved me, wanted me there.
Right.
Then my manager went behind my back and said, well, he got to pass the 66. And that position didn't even count for, call for the 66.
Right.
And when he went over there and he disrupted that for me, I understood. At that point, I was like, you know what? I'm going to really leave because I can't have somebody controlling how I move based on some type of arbitrary matriculation plan that they have.
Right.
Because I saw that the same people that came in with him that didn't look like us were moving less than a year. But meanwhile, they were telling us, hey, y'all got to stay here a year, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, why? Right. We are licensed to move. We can do all.
Everybody else
is moving. Why we got to stay here, right? And so when that happened, I was already planning on leaving. Yeah. I constructed a plan to how to get out of there without them firing me. Right. And I did. I was like, you know what? Because when I was taking the test, the last test I was taking, I was like, you know what? I had like 10 minutes left, right? And I had like 5 questions. I said, man, and I knew I was passing the test at this point. I said, man, if you pass this test, Bethel, you're going to still be at this company. And at this point, we had already started what we were doing. And I was just like,
I remember.
Yeah, and I was sitting there, I was like, man, if you, because I already saw the game.
Yeah.
At this point, I want out, but I don't want them to fire me.
Yeah,
right?
you want to control it.
Yes.
Yeah, I get it.
And so I bummed. I went to the last 5 questions. I was like, and I missed the test by 1 question. And I was cool. And I act like I was sad. Like, I did all of that. I played because I'm playing the game within the game. I know what's going on here. And so I was like, I got to get out of here. I made sure that they were going to pay me when I left.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't going to quit. Mm-hmm. I was ready to quit when I saw the information that we got on to. I was ready to quit.
It's still pretty magical how you pulled all that off. I'm impressed.
I told you, I come in with an exit strategy.
Yeah.
Right. Always. I didn't know I had to implement it that quickly, but I did. Once I saw that they was going to not let me move, and I was like, for what? I saw all these people that are in place that didn't look like me, that was controlling all our moves. I was like, I'm good. I'm out of here.
So kind of shifting the conversation just a little bit here. When it comes to investing, what level of exposure? Because you talked about kind of when you got to your mentor or your guardian, you was like, hey, make sure that this happens. Mm-hmm. What were some things that you got exposed to that helped strengthen your investing muscle? If that happened at the very beginning, what was that like?
Well, just understanding how to read my statements, my financial statements, understanding what it looks like to get back, to understanding what a dividend was, to understand what stocks was. Like, I got exposed to those things. That's kind of turned me on to investing through the stock market and things like that. So he exposed me to those things and different types of investments that you can get into. That's what I got exposed to with him.
Charles,
so I'll say for me, just getting into the business, I graduated from FAMU FSU College of Engineering. So when I started working at Lockheed Martin, I came in as an aeronautics engineer. And when you first work at any company, they say, here's your employer-sponsored plan.
Right.
Pick your investments, and 30 years from now, you'll have $1 million in there. So me and my engineering brain, I just looked on the sheet. I said, well, I'm going to put 10% in this, 10% in that, till I get 100%. That's probably one of the dumbest things ever that I've done, because that's not asset allocation at all. I just picked. So that's why I got into the business. I was like, man, I don't know nothing.
You thought you were diversifying.
It's a diversified portfolio, 10% and everything. So I didn't know anything about finance or investing at all. So I wanted to get into it. So that's why I left there when I got a master's of sports science, coached some college basketball for 5 years. Then I went and worked at Ameriprise Financial. Didn't pass the 66, failed it 3 times. They said, you're a nice person, but you can't work here. This is fee-based planning. So I had to go sell life insurance for 3 years at Northwestern. Loved it. My father passed away. They said he lied on his application. Like, I wrote the application. You know, all the 100 people I got an application for, y'all didn't say nothing about them. And, my dad passed away, the person I love and trust the most. I had to leave there, but I got a designation before I left, retirement income certified professional designation. Went over to Chase Bank, worked in there for a little bit, and then I went to Fidelity, did some personal investing. So that's the thing I learned, like the difference between personal investing and workplace investing.
That's completely
That's
different.
when you and I were trying to get retirement plan. That was on the workplace investing side, but yeah, there's a difference between personal investing and workplace investing. But
and break that down for a little bit. What's the difference between workplace investing and
so
personal
workplace investing, that's just basically your employer-sponsored plan. Right. Personal investing, that's just you open a brokerage account, you got your IRAs and
self-funded Roth.
All those different, just the personal side of things, but workplace is your employer-sponsored plan.
Gotcha. So some of the things that I think is going to be important for us to kind of get into is just some of the different rules for those that are looking to get into investing. What I see a lot that's happening out there right now is we have a lot of people teaching, hey, jump into stocks, or hey, jump into real estate, or hey, let's jump into Turo, right? Like, there's a lot of things that people are being exposed to that's quote unquote putting your money to work, but nobody's really teaching the rules of money so that you can understand, is this like a qualified good investment for myself, right? One of the very first basic investment rules that anybody should know before they even get into things is the rule of 72, right? Like, that is foundational. And as we like to say, excuse my cigar smoke, if your financial advisor is not telling you the rule of 72, they're not being a financial advisor. They're just another salesperson inside of a financial organization.
But some companies don't teach that.
Yeah, but true.
Some organizations don't teach that, right? Some the rule of 72 was crazy. I learned rule of 72 at Primerica.
Okay.
That's where I first learned when I first got into the business, I learned the rule of 72 at Primerica.
Right. So for those that are listening and watching, Rule 72 simply just says this, right? It's all about compound interest. So you take the number 72 and divide it by the interest rate that you're going to be receiving on your money. So if you have a 10% return on your money, then you know it's going to take you 7.2 years before you will double your money, right? So that's what it is. And when I first started getting to the game of investing, I started being like, okay, I hear everybody talking about, over here's where you can get double-digit returns, right? I was like, why is that so important? Well, the reason why it's so important falls back to the Rule 72 because we recognize how powerful compounding interest is when it comes to your money and how fast you're able to
on a ramp up rate.
Without eroding factors.
That's what I said on a ramp up rate.
On a ramp
that
up.
daily per diem, that balloon. I'm telling you, once I stepped out on my own and I got into a couple of the fields, I had a little cash and I was exposed to the market on a personal level through Forex. Me and a couple of friends of mine, we threw our money in the pot. We got up to 100K. We threw 100K in the game, right? 7 of us didn't really know the game, but we knew it was the smoke over there, right? And we want a part of it. So guess what? The young man that was the actual trader got our portfolio up to a nice sizable amount. Everybody was super excited, right? Had all these plans, what you getting ready to do. He failed to take himself out of a trade, and all of our capital went away. And that conversation with myself and my 6 other partners, that he had to stand before us and say that, and I tell you, something inside of me said, never again. Not never again getting in the market, but never again will I put my financial freedom in someone else's hand. My father is dead and gone. He had a saying, every day up to the day he died, he asked me the same question. He said, Chris, what do you do if a man has a gun to your head? Every day. To the point where it was irritating growing up, like, what, man? What do I, like, Daddy, what? He never told me. He said, you'll figure it out. Right before he died, he said, what do you do if a man has a gun to your head? I said, what, Daddy? He said, you take the bullets out. You never give a man an opportunity to pull the trigger on you. Now, that is so profound because that's a physical and a mental death. You never allow someone else to be in a position to make a decision on them. You have to equip yourself with information so you can make it. No one is going to take care of you or save you. It has to be you.
Right. So I think that for those that have not really understand the power of compounding money and interest, do yourself a favor and understand this. Which will you take at a later stage? Will you take $1 million in a month, or will you take a penny that will compound daily in a month? Which one will be more money?
Well, we know that.
We know the answer to that, right? So those that are watching and listening, go.
It kind of goes back to the crumbs.
It goes back to the crumbs, right?
Yeah.
So go look that up, see what that's like, because that at that point in time gives you the understanding of what compound interest and the power of it can really do. Right. So we need folks to really be equipped and understanding, because we tend to get into different investments and opportunities. Because I remember having a conversation with a friend. There's a group that was pushing out a real estate opportunity, and they were saying, okay, here's what we're going to give you. All right, we're going to give you, I think it was around like 7% return, and then plus, we're going to do these type of management fees and blah blah blah, and then we're going to split this, right?
Eroding factor,
right?
That's one of them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So they didn't, because if you didn't understand the rules of the game, you would look at that and be like, man, well that sounds like a great thing to get into. They say, we're going to split 50-50 once we get to this part right here.
With a per diem on that.
Exactly, right? right. But if you don't know the rules of money or know the rules of the game, then you're looking at that like that's a great thing. But what they pulling off here is almost highway robbery compared to
fees alone.
Highway robbery compared to all the other investment pool for real estate that sits out there.
That's a sexy finesse.
Sexy
You know what I'm saying?
finesse.
It's a sexy
Man,
finesse.
they had all the sexy
We're gonna
pictures
put that
out
on
there.
the T-shirt.
You know, sexy finesse,
It's
right?
sexy finesse. Right.
They did a great marketing campaign,
Right,
had
right.
t-shirt or had videos, had
Right.
Instagram going, all this kind of stuff, right? And everybody's like, "Oh yeah, this is what we need. This is what we need." And you come down to looking at it, and I said, "Man, ain't no way I'm putting my money into that." Right? I love what they're doing because we need that as a people. But yeah, if I look at the numbers
Right.
as far as what's going on,
the logistics of it didn't make
it didn't make sense.
Right, right.
There's no way I would put my money into that because I see what's going on, right?
So that first rule is understanding what compound interest is,
Understand it.
and understand what the rule of 72 is.
Right.
Yeah.
So the question becomes now: where do people that work normally park their money?
Right. So
He just brought it up, but we would've-
right. So before we even get that deep, because whether they normally park their money, I think it's important for us to understand how money grows, because understanding how money grows tells you where a lot of people end up parking their money, right? So you got money that grows in the variable market, which is like your stocks, right? Variable just means things are going up and down, up and down. Right?
What I'm saying is he gave an example
Right.
of PI and WI.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So those are going to be the two spaces that you're going to be investing your money. So either go on personal side
Right.
and on the investment where you open up brokerage accounts, and on the workplace side is where you invest into the workplace.
So I'm getting to that, right? So my point is, I think it's important to understand how money grows.
right.
Then those decisions that comes into how where you're placing it, those two spots,
Right.
which you're 100% correct about. Those tend to be you kind of control your decision based upon understanding how money is actually growing. Right. So if I know that
The potential growth on that.
right, potential growth, right?
Right.
So you have strategies like or not strategies, but you have money that grows from a variable market, which is your stock markets type things. There's all kinds of other things when it comes to variable.
Right.
You have your index market, which comes to your
Those are the standards.
your insurance policies where you can get some things out of there. You have fixed,
Right.
so understanding the growth on how money grows, that's really the only major ways of how money really grows inside of the different markets. You get what I'm saying? So I think that's Bart, but I want you to break down for me the two other variables that you were talking about earlier, as far as where people are placing their money.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like he was breaking it down. Like he was saying that there's two. That's the two places people do it, right? When they investing, because that's the places they know to invest, right?
Right.
So when we did our 401k, we understood what we were doing, right? Now, but my experience, the reason why I never invested in their 401k is because of my experience with NFL 401k. So I was like, I'm not doing this because I knew it was a scam in my mind.
Right.
This is a scam. I'm not doing this.
You had experience.
I had experience with how they put your money.
Put your money over here. Then
Right.
You can never get in that room to get
without
it.
without being punished and penalized for pulling out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I understood that, but you're still active. So what? Break those two things down: the workplace and the PI and the experiences where people park their money.
So one is contract based.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm saying like
you think about most brokers, they know a little bit, but they have to deal with those contracts. So they're pushing people in these doors because the company has a relationship with them. They're not saying what's going to really work for them, right? I can't do a one-off, right? I have to go with what the culture is over there, right? And historically, it's very little movement because I want to keep you in this loop because I'm getting all the fees off of it. I want to keep you happy. I want to make you too happy. Because you're too happy, you're going to take your money and leave, right?
Yeah, so workplace investing, you have only the investments that your plan sponsor that they give you. So they may give you 30 different investments, some target date funds and some other index funds that you can invest in. So you're kind of limited on what you can invest in the workplace, but personal investing,
Yes.
it's wide open.
open. You got your brokerage account. You can do stocks, your bonds, your mutual funds, your ETFs. You can pretty much go in. The more money you have, the more access you have to other investments, alternative investments that aren't available to, people that don't have as much capital.
Right.
Mhm.
Before you got into doing what you're doing now, how much were you exposed to the rules of 401ks?
I told you my story.
Yeah,
I picked 10% and put them in 10 different funds. I knew nothing.
That probably was based on that visual.
Yeah, that was
that
it.
That bar
Right.
code, right?
I mean, that's a lot of
One's
folks
red,
are
one's
in
green,
that
yeah.
that pot when it comes to the 401ks, because it's pushed, right. It's one of the things to do, right.
Mhm.
It's okay, a selling point. I'm going to get insurance. I'm getting a retirement plan, pension, 401k, and I'm getting into that game of putting my money there.
Well, I would say it's not a bad investment though, because
It
if somebody's giving you free, if I told you right now, Bethel, you give me $10, I'm gonna give you 20.
But it's not free money.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that's a
It's
whole
not.
nother conversation.
It's not free money.
It's not, because you're gonna have to pay tax on it. It's locked up for a certain amount of
Exactly.
time.
It's not free.
But if I told you today, I'm gonna give you $20 if you give me 10, would you take it?
It sounds good, but
Depends on
It sounds good.
once
You're right.
but because we all know, because we are in financing, that money that you think that they're matching has already been given to them. It's just like insurance. You go get an oil change and they say, "Oh, you got a crack in your windshield." No, I'm just here to get an oil change. They say, "No, it's already paid for." That don't mean you paid for it,
Right.
but you really did pay for it. It's a use it or lose it type thing, and that's really the game. How many? I think about the times where I've sat in those meetings and it was such a high level you couldn't catch what was going on. Then you had to make a decision at the end of the day.
Right.
I need you to sign up, but what you don't realize, that's a decision that you probably need to pause on because you make a decision on your potential capital.
Now I want y'all to hear this.
I was gonna say with him, he is exactly right, because investing is very personal.
Yeah,
very
Everybody's
much
not
so
the same. You're a different investor.
Right.
You're
Yeah,
all different.
right,
So
right.
for me to say it's a bad investment, well, the person that to go work on a job for 35 years, 40 years, it might be great for them.
But
to
watch
put
this
their
though.
money in
It is true. That is true because that's pep rally noise. That's the smoke, right? But what's the reality? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's
the reality is everybody's different. Everybody's situation different.
Right, everybody's situation different, but why are they pushing us towards the noise?
Oh yeah.
I'm
That's the thing.
challenge you on that one.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, so here's I had looked up in it was an article. It was talking about this is really one called Bank on Yourself, and they was talking about the employee match free money scam. Right?
Yeah.
It said, who doesn't love getting free money in the form of a 401k employer match? It said, do you really believe your employer is giving you something for nothing? I've always had that conversation. with
It
people.
didn't make any sense,
Not for
right?
nothing. Didn't make any sense to me. It said the Center for Retirement Research did a study based on tax data and found that every dollar an employer contributes to a 401k match, it said they pay 90 cents less in salary to men
Yes.
and 99 cents less to women on average.
Yes.
Translation, that means your employer is essentially pulling money out of your paycheck to contribute to your 401k.
Right. And
it's
check this out. And they're decreasing the company's taxable income.
Right.
So it's a decision that it's actually a decision made based on profit, not based on if you put $1 in, I'm gonna put $1 in because I believe in you.
Right.
So for me,
think about that. Everything you just said, I'm not gonna challenge it or anything.
I wasn't finished. Let me get some more facts out.
Oh, my
my goodness.
Let me get some more facts out. Right? So then it goes, it says, and even to get the employer match, it talks about, plus you don't even get all your employer match during the first 4 to 6 years you work for the company. You need to be vested first.
It's a sliding scale.
So to be vested to actually receive it,
Right.
but they said 4 to 6 years. But on average, people stay at jobs 4.2 years.
Yep.
So if you're not staying 4 to 6 years or in between that, you're not even getting vested so you can receive that money.
And guess
You know
what?
what I mean?
You know what's so cool about that? Historically, think about our parents, right? They come from the pension area.
Right.
Like era where, you get a watch, you get a but
what happened to that in 08 though?
no, you took my thunder.
There you go. That's it. Bethel, you gotta let the man get his stuff out, man. I know it's in you. Let the man get his stuff out.
Go ahead and tell
My bad. I get excited
because
about these
it's
things.
extremely relevant.
Yeah, right. How many companies kept pension plans after 08? They all went away.
They all went away. Yeah.
They all went away.
Right.
All that pension that people were saving up. So my point is, the retirement deal that we look at and the nest egg that we set up, Like even the tax deferral part of it. What if you in a higher tax bracket at the end?
Listen.
You know what I'm saying?
Listen,
If you start out at
that's
25%
such an
and then
issue
you get hit
right
with
there.
37, 80, 37, you know what I'm saying, percent later,
Right.
you're at a higher tax.
Right. So
Taxable.
the amount that you've already budgeted to make it, because you are now entering at a higher level, it is gone.
Yeah.
Right. And then you've been aged out of so many things to get back into the job market, right? What do you
You're not
do?
aged out of Walmart though. You could be a greeter.
Fact.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Fact.
Right. But at the end of the day, to break this down, just not even getting into some of those things, right? We can break down why the 401k or some of these other pension things are in my opinion,
Arbitrary.
are
that's what it is.
bad investments in my opinion.
I just feel people
Right.
need more education around it.
Right. But hold on. Let me get to my point. The biggest thing for me is there's a couple things, right? Understanding the rules of money. With most 401ks or pension funds, they're placed into what? Variable markets, right? So at the end of the day, we know that markets go up and down.
Right.
Right? If we know compounding interest,
Right.
most 401ks, you're making what per year on a 401k? Somewhere between 3 to maybe 7% on the high great year.
Wow.
Right?
That's not even counting
That's not counting the fees that come out of
the
that.
fees or the inflation that's equated with
No,
that.
it's
None
not.
of it.
Right? So you have somewhere within that range of how much money that you're making on your 401k. Then if the market goes on a downturn, like a 2008,
Man.
and you lose a lot of your money, how long will it take for you to start back over and double your money again?
Man, listen.
Right? So now you're sitting into a bad position at that point once the market takes a hit.
Right.
If you're just keeping your money there.
Are you really in a bad position though? And I'm just being a contrarian. I like to get the conversation going back and
He's
forth.
an engineer.
Are you really in a bad position? Because you weren't going to use that money anyway.
Now,
So if you understand how money is taxed, yes.
So I don't want to say bad position, but this is the thing. Now it forces you to be extremely aggressive and take chances with the little capital that you have to try to recoup it and get back to some type of level. And if you don't have the knowledge,
Right.
But
And you
once-
can't be
yeah,
no,
what do you-
hold on.
what
I'm
do
gonna
you
get back
do?
to his question,
you
right?
do?
Are you in a bad position? Yes. And
Why?
and that's what I want to get into.
Okay.
The reason why you're in a bad position is, one, you don't have control over the investment strategies that you have in there. Most folks they can't, when they get their statements for their 401ks, they get that thing, they don't even know how to read it from the jump, right? They don't even know what's going on in there. They can't even tell you what fees. The other part of it is how you get taxed, because you don't have the strategy that's behind you on moving your capital around. If I decided, knowing the rules that I know with the 401ks, first of all, you can't get access to what age? What, 52 and a half?
59 and a half.
59 and a half, right? 59 and a half. So you can't get access to it, right? But if I do get access to it, then
Or
I got
55 at the earliest.
right at the earliest. But it's in that range. If I do get access to it, I got to pay the penalty and I got to get taxed on it, right? So it's a tax deferred type of situation. And if I'm looking at my money, I would much rather pay taxes on $10 than I would pay taxes on $100, right? Because your amount of tax hit credit is a lot less, right? So now if my money's still sitting in there, not only am I susceptible to the variability of the markets, I'm also susceptible to how much I'm going to get taxed on that. The next part that goes on to it is, let's talk about that 72 and a half rule that nobody hardly ever knows about.
Yeah.
So that when you
The RMD's got to come out.
they got to come out.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Harris. Do you ever celebrate your half birthday?
no, sir.
Do you celebrate your half birthday?
I don't even know when
Do
it
you
is.
celebrate your half
I'm
birthday?
gonna start now.
No,
He
nobody.
said, I'm going to start now.
Who celebrates their half birthday? So if y'all get to a certain age at 72 and a half, how many of y'all know that you have to take the required minimum distributions have to come out of your 401k? Listen, in my family, I got people that work. My stepfather right now is still working to this day at 78 years old because he loves to, right? So you got people that are working later and older in life because that's what they want to do, they love to do, and also they're not in the position to do it because of all the things that have happened within side of these 401ks.
So let me ask this question then. Does those investments keep pace with the inflation?
No.
That's why as over time,
No.
the value of that pot that you're saving up gets less and less. Like you don't have the spending power.
That's really
that's
really the biggest thing.
Right,
I feel.
right.
You know
So
what I'm
even
saying?
if you made 3% on the year, all you did was kept up the
it's
value
not
of
even.
money.
even if
with
everything
inflation.
works out, once it's time to pull it out, the value of it has gone down tremendously. Then you're in a position like you have to figure out, what do I do with this sum I was forced to take out? But even more, people are living longer, people are working longer. How do I sustain the level that I'm used to? Right. And that's what we see a lot of people in our communities globally. That's the struggle, right?
So do y'all like going back to the 72.5 rule? Do folks really know that when you turn 72.5, you have to take money out, and if you don't,
50%.
they come and taking 50% of your money?
No, it's 50% of what you're supposed to put in.
Or what you're supposed to, yes. And then you also get taxed of that. So and then the RMD, which is required minimum distribution, is around 3 and some change.
3 to 4%.
Right, 3 to 4% of the balance, right? And then it continues to increase every year up until it gets to a certain amount. So the only way that you can make sure that your money does not run out on you is that you live off of the interest that you're making on the money.
Yeah.
Which gets hit every day, all day, every year.
Exactly. So how do
happens.
you continue to keep up with your money when you're sitting? So I go back to the original question over here. In my mind, yes, it's a bad investment because long term, you're getting taxed heavier. You don't have access to your capital the way you want to. You
don't have the same spending power later.
I would agree that it's a bad investment if that's the only investment you have.
Right.
Yeah. I think now is, because people have a lot more, I think it's viewed more as like a supplemental backup.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, because it's good if that's not the only thing you have going on, and you're intelligent enough, or you know a little bit about the market to kind of dictate what's going on. Instead of saying, all right, we want everybody in the room to go in here. Well, I just saw that company lost all the money, but no, but the brokerage has a contract with them, and they need X amount of people to go through the door, right? Me being an entrepreneur for an extended period of time, having a self-funded, right? Getting in there like, okay, look, once again, I lost that money in Forex, a lot of money, and I said to myself, I actually went back to school for trading. Okay, I went back to school to be a trader because I was like, you know what? No one's gonna watch my money like me, right? My daddy gone, but nothing he said is a well-bought lesson, is a well-taught lesson, right? The thought of what I could have done with that capital has forced me to get in the mud and learn what money is not. You know what? How to utilize money, because money is worthless. It's what you do with the money that's what the power is.
Right. So
we're not buying assets or anything from the 401k. Right. So now, like you said, if it's your own investment, that is a bad position to be in. But if you had assets on the side, because it doesn't matter at that point, again, what the currency turns to. It can turn to this rubber coaster. Right. But if I got the asset, you got to pay me the amount of rubber coasters that I need for that. So it doesn't matter. We're not teaching people the alternative investment side of in that space. We're not teaching people that, right? We're teaching them the like I said, the noise of the pep rally. Yeah. Go over there. Yeah. Because that's what everybody is. Versus like, no, look outside of that and see how can we get you in a better position on this side.
Listen,
when all this is said
I remember when I called, you get your statement and it wasn't going in 08. In 08, being in banking and then being in mortgage, with all the jumbo loans, and I was actually on the West Coast at this time. Man, it was a tremendous amount of chaos going on, right? I had my eyes open to so many different things dealing with jumbo loans and the, simple interest daily per diem, and how people were getting these homes that they really couldn't handle and how things were being done, right? If you don't know what's going on, so I got my statement and I called my broker. I was like, look, I want to do this over here. And it took me 2 weeks. He called me every other day trying to navigate me back towards the traditional route. And based on me being in banking, I saw like, no, somebody happened. I need to figure out how to pull some of this and some of these things that I have in my house, invest in, right? Some of these companies I'm spending money with all the time, I need to figure out how to get some dividends, right? But I I learned that because the fear and the experience of losing all that money. Now I don't know if you come into a company and they having a presentation, they saying, "Hey, we got the company here and want you to sign up," and then they got pens and coasters,
all the cute stuff.
But you're not really getting like, look. I know you got to sign 12 documents, but this right here could either propel you or it could be an anchor. And I just feel like coming from being an entrepreneur, having to self-fund it, you got to take control of your own destiny. It may be okay to have it, but how are you going to navigate within it to make sure you're successful?
So, Charles, what would be your advice in your experience? What would be your advice to people? Because there's so many more rules to money that we won't have enough time in this episode to cover that. But what would be the advice you would give people going forward as it pertains to? Because I know you were in the retirement department and you have your licenses and all that in retirement. What would be, because I know people it's the phantom, I would say the retirement ghost that we all chasing, but we're in someone else's system and they're going to control the end of it, right? As long as you're playing in that game, it's going to control the end of it. So what would be your advice to people that are in that space right now?
I would probably recommend you just do your research. You do research and then you try to find a company that has good financial history, a strong company, but ask questions. You could get help. If you don't understand how to do something, don't just jump out there, especially with your money. Right. Don't just jump out there and try to do it on your own and manage your money on your own. I mean, you may get lucky and do well at it, but if you don't understand something, get help. And I know the company I work for, they have retirement planners either on the phone or in the field that you can go talk to. Like, hey, I got this statement. Explain this to me. Explain what's this fee right here. Right. Explain that to me. Break it down for me, and they'll do that. So I would say just ask for help. Don't try to figure it out on your own. Until you get it, then whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, so I think one of my biggest things, there's a lot of noise out there as far as the different financial tools that are available. Don't just jump into a tool just because you hear what it is or think it's a great thing, right? For example, you can do 529 college plans, right? Understand at the end of the day, I think the thing that we've been talking about is
you're locked in.
Yeah. You need to understand the rules, understand the rules of everything that's going on. And then you got to, and part of understanding the rules is getting very familiar with the language. Because at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff is really not that hard. It's the language barrier that tries to get you. To me, it's a lot of different doors to get you to the same
destination. Yeah.
Right? All we want you to do is put your money with us at the end of the day.
It's a million doors to saying you that.
It's a million different doors with a bunch of different rules. And so in order to play this game the right way, you got to start learning the rules, learn the language, and have a strategy when you get into this game.
Get a mentor.
Yes, get a mentor that's helping you out with this. Because without those things, you'll get eaten alive. And let's be real, like you said, for the 401ks, if that's your only one, then it's a bad one. It's a lot of people that's their only one. That's their only one.
And in our community, that is, for the most part, our only one.
And we doing good because that means we done got us a good paying job.
Got a good paying job. It's got us. We all vested and
we vested.
We go get this. See, but in before we tap out of here, leave out, you got to understand this too, right? We've had these conversations with people on the phone. Like some people will be like, I invested $4,000 right into the market, right? Then that money say it grew to $40,000, right? Just say it grew to $40,000. Then you lose $15,000 of that 40 that it gained. You call it, what happened? Blah blah blah. Like my money. No. Yeah. You hadn't lost your money. Yeah. Your investment was $4,000. Right. Right. You had when we get to now you done down to you down to $2. You done lost the money you invested. Right. Right now you just losing the phantom money that they play with all day, every day. So we gotta understand we're like if we're not taking that money right now, then it's really not your money.
See, I was taught in school, don't look at the red and the green. Look at the amount. Because I can have 20 reds, but if that green, that amount is sum is more than all them 20 reds, I'm really good.
I'm good.
Right.
Yeah. So everybody, we appreciate y'all checking in and listening to us on this one for the Rules of Money. Honestly, we know that there's a whole lot more that we can get into.
We're gonna do this again.
We're gonna continue
we gotta
to
bring my boy Charles
explore
back, man. We gotta
more into it.
do
Charles,
this again because there's so much, and I know he's well versed in the game.
right?
I know he's
Right.
well versed in it, and because we work together, so I understand and then I know he know his stuff. So I'm telling you, if you're listening and you know to the conversations that we have, this is not somebody who hadn't went through all like Charles got damn near all the licenses that you can have in this business, right?
Right.
And so like he done put himself through all the education that you need to know. So like it's going to be interesting for us to walk through. This is going to be a multi-series, I believe, multi-episode because we have to go through the rules of money.
Right.
All of them.
And so that we can only talk about so much in so much amount of time. And so we just want you all to continue to listen to what we got going on and explore. The very first thing you want to do, especially have conversations now with the kids. Teach them the very first thing, Rule 72. How does money compound? And then once you get out of that, start teaching them how does money actually grow, right? And then the last thing I would tell them is once you get past those two, then start teaching them how does money get taxed, right? So that's another episode that we'll have to get into.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get into that.
Definitely.
And so when we're talking about the rules of money, we have to understand the game that we're in. If you don't understand the rules of the game, I mean, it's just like when our kids are playing a game and they just made up a game right then, and all of a sudden, they done changed the rules up on you. You like, man, how in the world? What?
Right.
How did I not get that point? Right.
Right.
Well, that's what's going on to you right now.
Again, it's like playing. We talked about the last episode. It's like playing chess with checker rules.
Right.
Oh yeah,
you got the same board,
but you're playing different rules.
Right.
It's like
Different
you think you're playing the game, but you're playing a completely different game.
Before we get out of here, I think it's important. I know that we're gonna do multiple series on this, multiple casts, but it's important to add context to all this, which is why this is really relevant. You, being an industry expert, can make it plain in a lot of different situations. I think we need someone such as yourself to kind of make it plain, right? To kind of debunk some of the things. Like you said, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's about knowing what's going on. The more information you have, you can make a more informed decision. You can make a more informed decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And before I let Chuck get some, I call him Chuck. What's the other dude named? There was the other.
Yeah.
Another cat named Chuck. That's named Charles. He go by Chuck though.
Okay.
But
I'll take Chuck over Bo any day.
I wasn't even gonna say nothing.
Okay.
I wasn't gonna say nothing. But what I was saying is, I think I was speaking, and I think I was speaking last week, and I told people, I said, there's only two ways to make money in this world. Only two. It's only two ways to make money in this world. You working for money, or it working for you. That's it. That's the only two ways you can make money in this world, right? But if you got your money working for you in the investment spaces, then you got to understand the game around that. Oh, yeah. And if you're working for your money, if you are working for your money, you get, you out there getting it. If you stop working, your money stop.
Right.
But if you're investing and your money's working for you, you got to understand the game and the rules that you're in. If not, you'll get sunk by it really quick.
All right, check us out on all our social media platforms. We appreciate it. Oh, I'm sorry,
Charles.
man.
Charles, you gotta let the people know, man.
Charles, do you want folks checking for you, Charles? What you got going on over there? Anything?
No, I'll just say everybody go subscribe to the podcast.
Oh man, we appreciate it.
Subscribing because I want to come back and I enjoyed this. I learned a lot from everybody. I don't know that we just dapping everybody up, but I enjoyed just talking to y'all because I learned we all learn from each other. So
definitely.
Been really good.
Right,
for me.
right. Yeah. All right. So do exactly what he said. Subscribe. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. All the platforms when it comes to the podcast.
Comment, subscribe,
share,
hit the notification button.
Comment. Please comment so that we can also join in onto the conversation. All right.
We enjoy feedback so we can continue to make this better and better.
Right.
Let us know what y'all want to talk about when it comes to money. This is what we do.
All right. Well, here we go. We're on the Money Podcast. Man, Spider, go ahead and bring us on out. We appreciate it, y'all.
Some more to be.